Bryce Gladwin here. Thanks for watching this episode of my ranked Nobushi play series. Really appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Today we're going to be looking at a ranked set of matches that I played recently and just evaluate what went right and what went wrong. No spoilers this time. I'll save the ending for the end. And with that said, let's get started. Okay, so getting into match 1 here. This is versus Aramusha. He is actually a character I don't know too much about, unfortunately. Like I said, I just came back like maybe 3 weeks ago, so many of the new characters I am not the most familiar with in terms of tactics, but thanks to some typical playstyles that I've seen, it's not that I'm completely lost in terms of how to deal with them. I just don't know every trick that they can throw out. Now, this guy is not a high level, and that's important to note. But one thing I want to kind of put into your mind right away is ebb and flow. This Aramusha character is going to constantly be getting into my face. Now here I just straight up miss like 4 parries in a row. But this Aramusha character is going to be getting in my face most of the game. Now most assassins are that way, but him in particular, because he's so feint heavy as Nobushi, you really want to make sure you're keeping your space, your distance away from him. I end up losing this fight here, mostly because I missed all those parries, but also because I was not keeping my distance. Ebb and flow. When I'm defensive, or rather, when I'm trying to keep my space, there's a lot of backwards motion, but when I'm aggressive, I'm getting in there. When I notice it's time to attack, I'm moving forward, I'm pressuring him forward. Attacking while retreating is not how you put pressure on someone, especially as Nobushi. That is more of, you're coming after me, I'm going to start walking backwards and attacking while you're attacking. That's not a form of pressure. That's just more of a tactic that you can use to confuse your opponents. The benefit of being a Nobushi is the distance you have between you and the other character and your ability to attack while retreating. But that's not a way to put pressure on people. So while it may be tempting just to say I'm going to back up the whole fight and avoid getting near this Aramusha, really, you do need to engage, get in close when you note that it is time to attack. So here I'll show you what I mean. Feint, go for a guard break, get a parry, smash him into the wall. So now he's low on health and he's out of stamina. It's time to get in close. It's time to pressure. Throw in attacks, feint, do whatever you can to mess with him. But then as soon as I'm out of stamina, as you saw, I started backing up, and then he became the aggressor. And I used that knowledge, knowing he was going to do that, threw in a light attack, because what he's done every time he dashes into me and I'm low on health is try and guard break, which he did try and do there, and it ended up costing him the match. So here we go again, me missing my parries because I'm just really not used to his timing yet. He's mostly throwing in lights. He's not feinting too much. Higher level Aramusha will feint like crazy, and you just have to be patient and wait for the true attack. But I'm going to say something that may blow your mind. You don't need to parry. If a character is throwing out lights at you like crazy, you do not need to parry. Just keep blocking them all. Aramusha has very few ways to open you up. It's when you try and parry his attacks and he feints it and then gets in with something in between, that's when he wins the match. So here, once again, I have the bleed on. And because I maintain my spacing and my ebb and my flow, I was able to win. See, when I was on the aggression, moving forward, putting pressure on him. But then I knew he was going to start attacking, so I back up. I put distance between us, and that allowed me to take the match. He wasn't able to close the distance. He wasn't able to predict what moves I was going to throw out as I was retreating because he's too busy thinking about how to attack me. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next match. All right, so our second match is against a Raider, And Raider is a difficult matchup for me, so let's take a look and see what I could have done better here. But in this particularly first match, I want you to notice something that happens. And this is with regards to spacing, which I bring up quite often. Backing up. Trying to put pressure. Trying to put pressure. Notice where I am. I have backed straight into a wall. Walls are exactly where Raider wants you to be. I have fallen right into his hands, and I've run out of stamina as well. I am so uncertain of playing against this character that I literally backed myself into a corner. So it's important when fighting a character like Raider, who has good mix-ups, not to fall into the trap of backing yourself into a corner. You should remember your map in the back of your mind, what this looks like, what the map looks like. And if you think you're getting close to a corner, start doing some side dodges or just simply walking to the side, because Raider once again excels at abusing you in the corner. Now here I do a much better job of managing my spacing and my location. Here I notice, I'm in a corner. Okay, I'm going to get off to the left here, and I managed to get away. Now he's very aggressive and actually runs out of stamina. But this is a problem that both me and this player have during this fight. We both run out of stamina a lot. That's not a good thing. As Nobushi, you don't have much stamina. You need to manage it correctly. Here, I simply had my head in the right space. I'm using the terrain to my advantage so I can get my stamina back. I'm keeping him at a distance while also putting some pressure, but I'm not going overboard because I have a healthy respect for this character and what he can do suddenly. But here, I throw out the only guard break of the entire round, and he doesn't expect it, and I manage to take him out. So sometimes it's worth it not to do the same tactic over and over again. If you can surprise your opponent with something you haven't done the entire round, at the very end, it sometimes can win you the match. Here is kind of a scary place for me to fight because literally the whole thing is an island, and he can throw me off of almost all the sides and can throw me into walls as well. So my tactic here was, okay, I'll just be aggressive so he can't get the edge on me. The problem with that is he does get the edge on me because I start running out of stamina. You'll see this in a moment, but I'm really trying to be aggressive here, and I'm not paying attention to how much stamina I have left, and I end up running out. Right now. I do something really stupid as well. I dashed backwards away from him when I was out of stamina. Unless you're a healthy distance apart, dashing backwards while you're out of stamina is a surefire way to get guard broken, thrown to the floor, and killed. Don't do it. When you're out of stamina, slowly walk backwards, block. Don't try and parry everything. Block. If it's an unblockable, obviously you need to parry. But don't dodge. It's a surefire way to end up dead. And that round, he guard broke me, threw me against the wall, and killed me. His mix-ups are typically using the top attack, which is a very fast, light attack, which is something, when you're facing Raider, you want to keep in mind. Now, this pretty much the whole round here, I'm keeping my guard up top, except when I'm attacking, of course. And I managed to block more than a few of his lights, and I'm able to poke him enough times to cause him to bleed and give up. Once again, I didn't get backed up into a wall. I didn't back myself into space I couldn't get out of. I controlled the fight in a sense, but he's really dominating this fight. I'm, once again, nervous about fighting him, so I'm not doing my tactics as I should be. Here, I completely lose my mind and just start using hidden stance like crazy. Hidden stance, while a useful tool, is not a great tool. It doesn't throw out attacks any faster than your normal attack, and it puts you into an animation which you then have to cancel if you're going to block something. Raider just sees me keep doing the hidden stance. He realizes, oh, I can just guard break this idiot, and boom, I'm dead. So, things to remember when fighting Raider. Keep your guard up top. Make sure you're minding your stamina, because he's really good at draining your stamina. And also, be aware of your spacing. Things to keep in mind. Things I didn't keep in mind as I was fighting him, and I end up losing that match. But it's still something that we can use to learn a little bit. Alright, so here comes match number 3. Now this one isn't very interesting. The player just wasn't very good. But I will talk about Gladiator just a bit. Gladiator is a very new character. And because of that, once again, I don't know everything there is to know about his attacks, his timings, and things like that. Just a quick note here. I become too aggressive right at this moment, and I just throw out an attack instead of waiting to see if there's an opening I could have used, and end up getting stabbed in the face. But anyway, Gladiator can do a surprising amount of damage, but he's also very quick. Plus, he's got these crazy unblockables, the toe stab and the shield bash, which are not fun to play against. So keeping all that in mind, what would your tactics be when you fight a Gladiator? Well, they tend to dodge a lot. So that means there's a chance to bait them into a dodge. If we can bait them into a dodge, that means we can guard break, or possibly hidden stance their attack, and then counter with a double stab bleed. The danger comes when it's a defensive Gladiator. A defensive Gladiator is a really tough nut to crack because he's fast enough to interrupt our attacks, and he's also fast enough to get out of the way of a kick. So what you're going to have to do when you're facing a defensive Gladiator is go for a light attack, hit hidden stance, release hidden stance, see what he does. And if he decides to throw out an attack, then you know, okay, I can't use my kick after a hidden stance when I fight this guy. If instead he goes for a guard break or something like that, that's actually a good sign, because out of hidden stance you can actually still counter a guard break. I'm pretty sure. I've done it before. I'm pretty sure I've done it before. But anywho, you basically want to test the waters with the Gladiator if he's a defensive Gladiator. You're probably going to take some damage while doing it, but at least you'll have a better understanding of his tactics. With regards to this guy, whose name is the Punslinger, very interesting name, he just hardly ever uses his unblockables and hardly ever dashes, so it was pretty easy to face him. Here, I pretty much just go all out on him. He unfortunately reacts incorrectly. And then I manage to get him out of stamina. He doesn't block that attack. I kick him in the wall and win the game. Yeah, so Gladiator, he's fast and he's strong. When someone's fast and strong, it means you can't take as many risks with a fight against them. You have to be more analytical of their style and look for a space to make your attack or to counter their own attacks. Same rules with Aramusha, though. You don't have to parry all of his moves. Block everything until you feel comfortable parrying. Then you can start to parry, and be selective about your parries. Obviously look for light parries that you can do, because he can't feint a light. But if he's someone who throws out a heavy just because he wants to and doesn't feint it, go ahead and punish him, parry that, and squeak in some damage. Alright, we're all set here with this match. Let's move into the next one. I still can't believe he said nothing to my puns. At the beginning of this match I made a pun. At the end of the match I made a pun. He's the punslinger, and he says nothing. What bad manners. Alright, so getting into I believe this is the fourth match. Let me check real quick. Yep, fourth match. Against a fellow Nobushi player. Has pretty sweet skin as well. Our rank is pretty similar. Not our dual rank, but I mean our prestige. So, because it's a mirror matchup, we both know each other's moves. So, I start out just doing some basic stuff. I want to see what she can do. I want to see how she's going to feint. How's she going to step? If I throw something easy out, what are you going to do? She actually ends up not blocking most of it, strangely. There, I do get a good read, do the hidden stance, and manage to get in the bleed damage. And then here, she just simply doesn't block once again. The player, whoever he is, does have some issues with blocking. But I was cautious, but ebb and flow when I saw I had a moment to advance and attack. I took it, and then when it was time to be cautious, I was cautious, stepping backwards and using the hidden stance and things like that. Now, because of the distance you have, you can get away with a lot of whiffed attacks, as we call them. A whiffed attack is when you throw out an attack that you don't intend to be able to connect to someone, and then you follow that up with the appropriate combo attack. So, for instance, for Nobushi, that would be like throwing out a light that cannot connect to the opponent, and then they're like, okay, now I'll attack, and then you throw out your heavy. So that's a whiffed attack. You whiff, quote-unquote, you miss the light, and then you throw out the heavy. I was doing quite a bit of that during that last round right there, just because I knew I had spacing, and I could cover so much space, especially if she advanced on me with an attack. Here, I'm the one who ends up having trouble blocking. I start out the match well, once again, using distance, using the length of her attacks to get in there. A nice parry here, followed up by a... Yeah, exactly. Where was my kick? My kick was supposed to be thrown out, but instead I did a double light and paid for it handsomely. Got parried and then killed. She has not dodged a single one of my kicks, and throwing a kick in that instance was the correct move, but I threw out another light. Probably nerves. I don't know why I did that, but just know that it's generally speaking better to throw in a kick than a light. Here we go, final round. Now we're both being cautious because she knows, if I lose this round, I'll lose. I misjudged the distance on her kick and ended up eating it. But generally speaking, I'm just trying to keep her inside of here because Nobushi sucks when she gets backed into a wall. Here I run out of stamina and she gets in a free hit. But notice what I'm doing. I'm backing her into the corner, just like Raider was doing to me. And now I go through with an easy, top-heavy into, yep, you guessed it, a guard break. I'd only guard broken her one more time during that round. And as I said before, if you just throw in something you haven't done the entire round at the very end when someone is close to death and they're really trying to be on top of their game, their brain is looking for all the tactics you normally do. So throwing in something that you don't normally do can oftentimes get you the win. All right, let's go into the next match. Okay, now we're moving into match number 5. Just keeping score here, I've so far dropped 1 match out of the last 5 matches. Please pardon the noise, we are having quite a lot of rain today. So this is against a warden, and a pretty high-level warden as well. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what kind of tactics I employ to defeat this guy. So he opens with a typical opener, a dashing heavy attack. I managed to block it, but managed not to block anything else there. He does some pretty typical moves as well, which it is frustrating as to why I didn't do better. So I get him out of stamina because he was overly aggressive, and I proceed to abuse it, but then he just shoulder bashes me into the steam, and I end up dying to a double light. As of yet, I haven't quite formulated an idea of what I want to do against a warden's shoulder bash, so my strategy is currently fluid. But I'll let you guys know as soon as I have something there. Dodging, of course, is the typical one. Double dodging is pretty safe, but then you're running low on stamina. Here he just keeps on attacking me, and I'm trying to fit in attacks in between his attacks. It's unfortunately not working too well. I get in a few, but as you can see, I'm low on health and I'm low on stamina. I managed to get the bleed. Misjudge his attack there. And then he proceeds to just attack, and I fail to block every single attack. Mostly because I was too busy trying to parry, and I was also trying to fit attacks in. You need to be careful and read your opponent. Some opponents, the strategy of squeezing in an attack in between their attacks doesn't work because they either tend to feint their attacks and then will just parry you, or they instead will always follow up their first attack with a second attack, and your attack doesn't have time to reach your opponent. In this round, this one's going to end funny. So I started to get some tempo on him. I get in a kick, I get in a stab, I get in more stabs, more kicks, more damage. He gets down pretty low. And it looks like I'm about to win. I'm blocking everything, and then watch this. I feinted and then started to do a zone attack and then canceled it. I basically pushed too many buttons at once and ended up doing absolutely nothing in the middle of my attack. It's extremely embarrassing that happened, and I couldn't take a single match off the guy. I just couldn't formulate a plan and then stick to it. My spacing wasn't great either. You might have noticed he was close to me quite often. All right, well, that's that, as they say. If you have a question for me about playing Nobushi or just generally about For Honor, there are not a lot of new players out there. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Please leave it in the comment section below. I'll go ahead and respond back to you. Leave a like as well. That really helps me out, and if you're willing to, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and fight for honor with honor.